Here's the 200 SMA on the weekly chart. So I want to highlight that. We're looking at the weekly chart here, not the daily chart, not the hourly. This is the weekly chart. And the main thing that you want to look for this setup are solid companies. So you're starting all of these with, okay, is this company a legitimate company, great product? Is it a household name? Are there a lot of people who use this product that I know and are happy? Do they make money? Have they been growing for the last decade? Those are the questions you need to answer before you use this swing trading strategy. So once you find companies that fit all that criteria, things like Apple of the world, things like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, things that you know about. I see Amazon boxes in everybody's front yard. I see Amazon boxes at everybody's door on my street. I know everybody's got an Apple iPhone. There's a few Android weirdos out there. No offense. No offense. No offense. I don't want to start that conversation. I know Android people get very angry when you call them a little bit odd for having an Android. So we're not going to get into that. Maybe. You're still weird if you have an Android. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I swear, I'm just busting your balls. But most of the people I know have an Apple iPhone. Most of the people I know are happy with their Apple iPhones. A lot of people that I know get excited when a new iPhone comes out. They also have Apple computers. So Apple is a company, household name. Everybody knows it. A lot of people are happy with it. Solid company. They've been growing. They were at one time probably the premier company in the world. So that's the criteria that we want to see these companies fit. So now we go to their chart and we look at the weekly 200 SMA. The idea is very, very simple. You buy when these good companies test the 200 SMA. Very, very simple. But this is something that Wall Street whales are watching. The 200 SMA has been around for decades. They track it. They see where it's sitting. They see where it's, where is price in relation to the weekly 200 SMA. There's not many indicators from a technical perspective that Wall Street and institutions are watching. But the weekly 200 is one of them. So the main idea here, guys, good company, number one. Find those good companies. Number two, mark the weekly 200. Set an alert when price gets within 10% of the weekly 200. So right now on Apple, the weekly 200 is sitting at $207. What I would do is I would set an alert 10% above $207. Not going to be exact math, but we're going to go to $227. I would be setting my alert right there. Boom, I would be buying. And I would buy all the way down to 10% below the weekly 200. So let's go 10% below. 187. Again, not exact math, but that is my buy zone here. 10% above the weekly 200 down to 10% below the weekly 200. So summary, guys. Very quick summary. Good company. Companies with growth. Companies that have been growing for decades. Companies with household names. Companies that you can see on a daily basis. You can look outside. You can go to the store and you can hear about them. You can see them. Things that you could walk up to someone and be like, do you know about the company Apple? And they'd be like, yeah, what are you talking about? Like, that's a weird question. It should be so obvious that it's weird. Those are the good companies we want to be talking about. Weekly 200, 10% above it, 10% below it. That's your buy zone here. We can go and back test it a little bit if you guys want. Let's remove these little lines. Here is Apple on the weekly 200. Bounce right on it. Perfect. Let's go back a little further. Bounced right off it. Perfect. Bounced right off it. Perfect. Bounced right off it. Perfect. Doesn't get much better than that. Let's go to Microsoft. Here's a current example. So another name that most everyone in the world knows about, Microsoft. Growth. Good company. Household name. They were at one time the premier company in the world. 10% above the 200 SMA on the weekly chart. So let's look at this, $385. Let's go to about $420. Again, not perfect math. There is 10% above. Let's go 10% below, $340. Something like that. Not exact math. Again, did I do this math wrong? I think this is meant to be just a tad higher. whatever. But you guys get the idea. 10% above, 10% below. Math is hard. There's your buy zone. And little spoiler alert for you guys, I have already started buying Microsoft. So this tested the weekly 200 back in March, and it's currently retesting it again. I have been buying Microsoft. This is a good company. This is a very solid company, household name, good products, good growth. I have been buying because of this strategy, the weekly 200. Let's go look how it's worked out. Here's the weekly 200. 2022, we tested it twice. You guys can see how that worked out. Keep going back. We got pretty close to it. We did test it here in 2013. You guys can see how that worked out. So again, weekly 200, 10% above, 10% below. That's how you create your buy zone. Good companies. Keep it simple. This was one of the best, or I guess, talked about strategies behind closed doors. This was never publicly talked about by Warren Buffett's buddy Charlie, but this was one of the things that people who knew him closely said he did talk about quite a bit, was the weekly 200 and how that was a very significant level and something that retail traders could potentially beat the market by using. So that's a strategy that I think all of you guys should be at least watching. You might not be, taking trades on it all that often because it's all about patience. You have to be patient with this strategy. You're not going to get tests of the weekly 200 on great companies all that often. It's going to be once a year, twice a year opportunity. But when these opportunities do knock, and Microsoft is one of them right this second, you do need to take advantage and make sure that you're using this strategy appropriately. So if you guys have any questions about this, you guys can hit me up. You could type them in the chat right now. You could DM me on Twitter, but I want to give you one last quick summary. Good company, household name, growth, the product is solid, fits all the criteria that you need to see for a very solid company. Margins are good, not at a crazy valuation. Product rollout is looking good. Pipelines are looking good. They're forward thinking. Number 2, testing the 200 SMA on the weekly chart. I set an alert 10% above. I start buying. I buy until it is 10% below the weekly 200. That is my scale in zone. Simple. Not overly complicated. And then I wait. Be patient. That's it, guys. Very, 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 very simple but effective trading strategy that, again, is used by Wall Street. It's not just retail. This is something that institutions are using. So, all right, I'm going to quit yapping about it. I just get excited talking about some of these, but thank you guys for bearing with me through the little educational period of today's stream. I see a question, do you buy shares or options? 95% of my swing trades are shares. I don't like options too much just due to the timing that you have to be correct. And I also think there's a lot of decision fatigue with options. You have to decide strike, expiration. You have to be looking at all the Greeks. You have to be very educated on that. I do think there are times and places for options. I think if you're looking for high risk, high reward swings, I do think that options do have their place. But for the most part, I think shares are better for most traders. I think 99% of traders should be trading shares. And I also very, 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 very strongly believe that you should not be trading options if you cannot successfully trade commons.